Hey everyone, Aaron Rift here from NoDQ.com to give you my thoughts on the WWE B-PPV events from Elimination Chamber 2011 through Money in the Bank 2011. Let's start off with Elimination Chamber. I thought it was a good show overall, not quite as strong as the previous No Way Out / Elimination Chamber pay-per-views. I was happy that Matt Striker was not on commentary for this show. If you had watched my B-pay-per-view review videos from 2010, you know I'm not a big fan of Matt Striker on commentary. I will say that Booker T was not that much of an improvement. The thing about Booker T was that he was so bad that he was actually entertaining. The oh my goodness and his Fave 5 and all that stuff. He was entertaining in a campy way. I'll give him that. The Elimination Chamber SmackDown match for the World Championship. I thought that this was a really strong match. You had Big Show out there as the replacement for the fired Dolph Ziggler. Not really the kind of substitute you want to see, but it did not really hurt the match this much. You had lots of cool spots, people going through the plexiglass, in particular Wade Barrett. It ended up starting out with Rey Mysterio and Edge, and it ended with Rey Mysterio and Edge. And I will say that this finishing sequence between these two was excellent. Really well done. Back and forth. Mysterio kicking out of the spear, Edge kicking out of the 619 splash, and then for the finish, Edge did a mid-air spear to Rey Mysterio to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. And then you had Alberto Del Rio coming out attacking Edge since Del Rio had won the Royal Rumble and he was the #1 contender for the title. And Christian would come out and make the save for Edge. Christian had been injured by Del Rio and this was his big return. Really solid stuff. Then you had Jerry Lawler versus The Miz for the WWE title. And I have to give WWE credit. They did a really good job building up Lawler and making people think just maybe Jerry Lawler would win the WWE title, even if it was for one night and Miz would win it back the next night. There were a lot of people that thought Lawler would get a WWE title run, even if it was just for one day. And I think WWE really made the most out of this. They had Jerry Lawler doing a promo mentioning the passing of his mother and that he had never been WWE champion and he had also never been in a WrestleMania match. There was some filler on this show. There was one segment with Booker T and Trish Stratus that was really a waste of pay-per-view time. Also, there were backstage segments with Vicky and Kelly. Actually, that was part of the segment with Booker T and Trish. My mistake. Let's talk about the other Elimination Chamber match, which was to determine the #1 contender for the Miz's WWE Championship. Miz did in fact end up beating Lawler. This was another good match. John Morrison doing his usual crazy stunts. At one point he climbed the top of the structure and fell down onto Sheamus. That was a cool moment. At one point CM Punk had gotten a malfunction with his pod. He couldn't get out of it. And Orton ended up pinning Punk right away, and the anonymous Raw GM reinstated Punk. So I like the fact they did this storyline in this match. Made it more interesting. And at the end, you had John Cena hitting the big AA on the steel to win, defeating CM Punk and becoming the #1 contender for WrestleMania. Like I said, this was strong stuff. Was a bit predictable that John Cena would win to face The Miz for the title at WrestleMania. But beyond that, it was an entertaining match. So let's move on here to Extreme Rules. You had Randy Orton against CM Punk in a last man standing match. CM Punk was part of Nexus. Nexus was banned from ringside. This was the first pay-per-view where Randy Orton grew out his beard. Not sure why I'm noting that. Just, change of look for Orton. This was a good match, but not quite as good as previous last man standing matches in WWE. You had the kendo sticks being used a lot. I mean, it felt more like a kendo stick match than a last man standing match. They did use chairs. Randy Orton did an RKO on the table that did not break. and then he had to eventually hit a super RKO to beat Punk. You had Karma making one of her only WWE pay-per-view appearances, coming out and destroying Michelle McCool, who had lost a career-ending match to Layla. Karma looked really good here, but unfortunately things did not pan out with her in WWE. You had the ladder match between Del Rio and Christian for the World Heavyweight Championship. This was right after Edge's retirement and the title was vacated. I really liked the storyline of this match. Not the best ladder match of all time, but a true feel-good moment in WWE history, with Brodus Clay helping out Del Rio and then Edge coming out and making the save for Christian winning the world title. The whole thing was really cool to see Christian finally win the world title and Edge give him the seal of approval. So this was a lot of fun. Then you had the main event, John Cena versus John Morrison versus The Miz. This was a really good cage match, well-worked cage match. John Morrison really added a lot to this. All three guys worked really hard. Good stuff here. Miz getting double suplexed off the cage. Morrison doing all sorts of innovative things, including stuff with the cage door. Several times Miz and Morrison were battling on top of the cage. John Morrison hitting Starship Pain off the top. Eventually you had R-Truth coming out. Yes, R-Truth. This was when R-Truth was getting his brief main event push. R-Truth coming out and basically costing Morrison the match. John Cena hit The Miz with an AA off the top to win and become WWE Champion. I really enjoyed this match. It was very entertaining. Overall, this was a solid pay-per-view. Next up, we have Over the Limit. Not quite as good as Elimination Chamber and Extreme Rules, but still some tolerable stuff. You had R-Truth cutting a promo to kick off the pay-per-view. He beat Rey Mysterio. You had Sin Cara in his first pay-per-view match against Chavo Guerrero, and this was Chavo's final pay-per-view match. They completely botched the finish, and this would be a beginning of things to come with the original Sin Cara. You had Del Rio coming out and cutting a promo on Canadians illegally crossing the border, and Kane and Big Show coming out during this. You had Randy Orton versus Christian. This was great. This was the beginning of the Orton-Christian feud. As I mentioned earlier, Christian won the world title only to lose it 5 days later to Randy Orton. Internet fans were so pissed off about this. I mean, fans were just going crazy with their complaints, and fans felt that Christian got robbed of the title. So WWE continued this feud between the two of them, and they started off a series of awesome matches. One of the best feuds of 2011 was between Orton and Christian. This was a really good match. Randy Orton hesitated to punt. This was when Christian was still a face. Christian hit the spear. Orton kicked out, and then Orton was able to hit the RKO. Great RKO finish I took note of. Then you had Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole in a Kiss My Foot match. Michael Cole came out and had a doctor's note that he could not compete. Then you had Jerry Lawler bringing out Eve Torres, Jim Ross, and Bret Hart, since this was a throwback to the Bret Hart versus Jerry Lawler Kiss My Foot match from '95. All three of them came out, and Lawler won the match, and Bret Hart put Michael Cole in the sharpshooter, and at that point you had Jerry Lawler making Cole kiss his foot while Cole was in the sharpshooter. This was entertaining. A lot of people did not like this feud, especially the match at WrestleMania, but at least this was a satisfying end to the whole feud between Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler. And one plus of this also was that Jim Ross was doing commentary for the main event, which was John Cena versus The Miz in an I Quit match. This is the usual thing with John Cena and I Quit matches. Nobody believes John Cena can lose these matches. It was basically, for the entire match, Miz and Alex Riley beating the crap out of John Cena, using the briefcase, double powerbomb, using the kendo sticks, John Cena saying they hit like a girl, saying the Miz hits like a girl, Miz using the belt to whip Cena, Cena refuses to give up time and time again. He makes a brief comeback. Then Miz and Alex Riley get control again. And then Alex Riley used his cell phone to play a recording of John Cena saying he quit, but the referee realized this and restarted the match. And Alex Riley got AA'd through the table, and then Cena chased Miz up the ramp. He hit him with the belt, put him in the AA, and Miz quickly tapped out, and that was the end of it. So John Cena just took a huge beating for the most part, made his brief comeback, and retained the title. And that was it. Next up, we have Capital Punishment. A very forgettable pay-per-view, and many people look back at this as one of the worst WWE pay-per-views of all time. I would say it was among the worst, but it certainly wasn't a pay-per-view where if you missed it, you missed much of anything important. You had Alex Riley beating The Miz, which amounted to nothing. Alex Riley really went nowhere, so this wasn't anything historically significant. You had a ton of lame skits with a fake Barack Obama. This was just really dumb. Waste of pay-per-view time. Ezekiel Jackson beating Wade Barrett for the IC title. Again, what did Ezekiel end up doing in the long run? Nothing, so this meant nothing. CM Punk beating Rey Mysterio, which was significant because of what happened at the next pay-per-view as CM Punk was building up momentum towards the infamous pipe bomb promo, and I'll get to that in a moment here. You had Randy Orton versus Christian. Again, by this point, Christian had turned heel. And in this match, Christian essentially got screwed over because he had his foot under the bottom ropes when the referee counted 3, but the referee didn't see it, so Randy Orton retained his world title, and this continued the feud between the two of them. Another solid match between these two. And then you had the main event, John Cena versus R-Truth. That's right, R-Truth in the main event. Just a very bland match, nothing much to it, and I really don't think anybody at the time and in the arena thought that R-Truth had a snowball's chance in hell of winning the world title. So the match really didn't feel like it was anything special. R-Truth was doing the whole Little Jimmy routine, and he went outside and got in the face of a kid at ringside and took the kid's hat and drink. The kid ended up throwing the drink in R-Truth's face, which led to John Cena winning the match, and that was the end of that. So, yeah, Capital Punishment was really a nothing show. Nothing to write home about. Then we had Money in the Bank, which was a complete 180 from Capital Punishment. It all started with CM Punk in Las Vegas cutting his now infamous pipe bomb promo where he broke the fourth wall and essentially broke the internet. Broke NoDQ.com. NoDQ.com literally crashed from all the people trying to log on and get information about what had happened with CM Punk's promo. I mean, it shocked everybody. And at this point, fans were wondering if this was all legit and how much of this was work and how much of it was shoot. CM Punk's contract was up and it was going to be ending right after Money in the Bank, and would he leave the company with the WWE title? Lots of intrigue leading up to this Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which was also in Chicago, CM Punk's hometown. So this had the recipe of being an all-time classic in WWE. And sure enough, it would deliver. Money in the Bank 2011, generally considered to be one of the best WWE pay-per-views of all time. You had the 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches, the SmackDown match. Definitely one of the safer Money in the Bank ladder matches, although there were still a lot of high spots. And we did have an injury on this show. The original Sin Cara getting injured. Basically, he was powerbombed by Sheamus through one of those ladders that were bridged between the apron and the announce table. Sheamus had scars over his body. He was choke slammed onto a ladder bridge later on. Justin Gabriel did a 450 splash off the ladder. And then Wade Barrett was eventually about to win, but Daniel Bryan kicked him off and won the Money in the Bank, and this would lead to Daniel Bryan's eventual first world title win. This match was really fun. Really fun way to kick off the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Probably the low point of this show was Mark Henry versus The Big Show. This was in the middle of Mark Henry's 4th or 5th monster push in WWE. The crowd was chanting for CM Punk, though, during the match, so they really did not care about it. Then you had the Raw Money in the Bank match. Everyone had ladders to start off the match. The one big complaint I have about this match is that they had mini ladders out there, which was ridiculous. Why were there mini ladders out there when nobody can grab the briefcase from one of those ladders? It was just silly. Lots of dives to the outside. Evan Bourne did the airborne from off the ladder to the outside. Miz, there was a segment where Miz got hurt and was carried out. Of course, he would end up coming back out later on. Rey Mysterio and Evan Bourne doing double Hurricane Ranas. Kofi did a lot of innovative stuff with the ladder. Then at one point you had everybody on top of the ladders. There were like 3 ladders and everybody was climbing up at the same time. And at this point Miz came back out. Mysterio was about to win. The crowd was booing Mysterio. Del Rio ripped off the mask, and I believe this was supposed to be the finish here, where the mask gets ripped off, Del Rio grabs the briefcase, and that's it. But unfortunately, Rey fell onto another ladder, which bounced back into the ladder that Del Rio was on, and Del Rio ended up falling off the ladder, having to set up the ladder again, climb up, and grab the briefcase. I'm pretty sure that was a botched finish. But regardless, it was a clever way for Del Rio to win by pulling off Rey Mysterio's mask. Then you had Christian versus Randy Orton for the world title, and the stipulation was that if Randy Orton got DQ'd, he would lose the title. Christian tried to get Orton disqualified, tried to get Orton to use a chair. Orton would keep his cool up until the very end of the match, when Christian would spit in the face of Randy Orton, just like Carlito might do. And at that point, Randy Orton snapped and hit a low blow, got DQ'd. Christian won the world title, but Randy Orton took him out with 2 RKOs on the announce table. And Randy Orton, the crowd was just going nuts for Orton being this madman out of control. So this was a lot of fun and an interesting way to put the title on Christian. Then you had the main event, John Cena versus CM Punk. If you have not seen this match, and I doubt there are many of you out there that have not seen it, go watch it right now. Turn off this video, watch it, and come back here. It is one of the all-time great WWE matches, one of those rare occasions where all the stars were aligned. You had an excellent match between these guys that went over 30 minutes. There were occasional botch spots, but overall, you know, one of John Cena's best matches, arguably. I mean, it's been rated 5 stars by Dave Meltzer, and it would probably go down as John Cena's best match. I mean, with all the different aspects of it, not just the in-ring work, but the storyline that was leading up to it, the intensity. This was one of those crowds where the atmosphere was so intense you could cut it with a knife, as Gorilla Monsoon might say. The crowd was just solidly behind CM Punk, booing John Cena for the most part. Although Cena did have his fans, there were some female fans there and kids that were cheering for John Cena, but it was an amazing atmosphere. The crowd reacting to basically every single spot in this entire match, which is something you just don't see. You had them trading falls, near falls, back and forth, and then you had Vince McMahon coming out. CM Punk had hit the GTS, but John Cena got knocked to the outside. Vince comes out, and John Cena ends up putting CM Punk in the STF, and Vince instructs the referee to ring the bell, but the referee doesn't see Vince, so Vince has John Laurinaitis, his stooge, go over and have the timekeeper ring the bell. John Cena's having none of this. He's not going to take the cheap victory, so he stops John Laurinaitis, but during the whole melee, CM Punk ends up hitting GTS and beats John Cena, wins the WWE title, and he kisses Vince McMahon goodbye as he leaves. Vince tried to have Del Rio come out and cash in Money in the Bank, but CM Punk kicked him right in the face and then took off through the fans. So really a perfect storyline leading up, and the execution, they couldn't have done it better. I mean, it was really flawless. Unfortunately, many would say WWE dropped the ball after that by bringing back CM Punk way too soon. They could have dragged that out and done an invasion type of storyline, but CM Punk just came back and was part of the roster again. And, you know, maybe they could have done more with that, but for what it was, Money in the Bank was a hell of a show, and definitely one you should check out if you haven't seen it. But like I said, I'm sure 95% of you have. So that'll wrap it up for my B pay-per-view thoughts from 2011. After this Money in the Bank pay-per-view, I started No Q&A video on NoDQ.com. So there's pretty much video documentation of my thoughts on all the pay-per-views after Money in the Bank 2011. So this will be the final B pay-per-view video that I do here. Hope you guys enjoyed them. I've done pay-per-view reviews going back to the first In Your House from 1995 all the way to this 2011 Money in the Bank pay-per-view. A lot of time watching back on these pay-per-views, and some fun moments, some not so fun moments, but hope you guys enjoyed the videos, and stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest in the world of wrestling.